I am Jon Sicotte, executive editor of the Brewer Magazine. Welcome to another edition of the Brewer Magazine podcast. Make sure that you're liking and subscribing to both our YouTube and our Spotify channel to keep up with the content here. And of course, 24 hours a day, we're available at brewermag.com. This podcast sponsored by Keg Logistics. It's keglogistics.com/brewermag for all your needs from them as well. And we thank them for being a sponsor for the Brewer Mag podcast. Well, next week, it is CBC 2025 in Indianapolis. We're going to be there, myself and Tyler Montgomery. Looking forward to talking with you, meeting up with you, having a few beers, and enjoying everything that's going on in Indianapolis. But maybe this is your first time, or you just want to get a little thought process ahead of time, kind of a little planner. Be looking later on this week on the website as well, as I'll be running through a few of my favorite upcoming seminars that you can see. But we had a chance to talk to a few people, get the inside dirt before you even sit down in those conference rooms to find out a little bit about that. And then if you've never been to Indianapolis, we talked to a brewery that shared all of that. Got a little tour guide experience thanks to Sun King. Check this all out. This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency. And we welcome in Adeline Druart from Lawson's Finest. Adeline, thanks so much for joining us here on the Brewer Magazine podcast.
Thank you, Jon, for having me.
Yeah, and this is the CBC preview. You're going to be talking in a panel called Being the Change You Want to See. It's going to be happening on Thursday, May 1st. And I'm even going to throw the time in there, 1:30 to 2:30 at the Wabash Ballroom, Level 1 in Indianapolis. And, first off, just, tell us a little bit about exactly the overall view of the topic and, kind of what it all is when it comes to B Corps and why you wanted to speak about it at CBC.
Thank you, Jon, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about this session. We know it's the last day, and I think it's the last section of the conference, so we want to make sure we draw the crowd before everybody then run off to the award ceremony, right? And so the intent for this session is to talk about the purpose that is behind some of those iconic companies, such as Allagash, Vivant, and Lawson's Finest Liquid. We're known for making amazing beer, and we're also B Corp certified. So the intent for this seminar is to share about what does that mean, what B Corp certification means, how do you get certified, and what's the value to the business, how owners should think about it if they are interested, and then bring examples on how we bring the purpose of our company, the impact we want to have, whether it's social or environmental, how we bring them forward in our respective businesses. So the intent here is to also show example on when we say we're a good business, how we demonstrate that.
And it's quite a process. We've talked about it, especially with Allagash in the past. But it is so worth it. And, that is the cool thing to tell people. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. And I think that is going to be, one of those things. But overall, again, you kind of mentioned some of the people you'll be talking with. You'll be with Jason Perkins from Allagash, Jason Spalding from Brewery Vivant, along with Max Hayes from B-Lab US and Canada. And, what's your background with them? Again, how did you guys kind of get together to be able to put this panel together?
Yes, definitely. So the fun fact is there is only 18 breweries in the US that are certified B Corp out of, as we know, over almost 10,000. So our goal is to really share the movements, that if you join the movements, if you get through the certification, here's the value this is going to bring for your employee, for your brand, etc. And so when we started to brainstorm the idea on how to share the best practices, how to open the conversation about B Corp, we reach out to our peer. That's Allagash for us. they are our neighbor. And so we planted that seed with them. Would you be interested? It hasn't been done yet at CBC. Let's talk about B Corp. And then we reach out to Breweries Vivant because we admire their work. We wanted to make sure throughout the selection of the panelists that we have brewery of different scale. So with Allagash being obviously a larger scale, Lawson's mid-size, and then Brewery Vivant being on the smaller size, so we can show that scale doesn't matter, really. It's really about the commitment to impact. And we also wanted to make sure we invite a representative from B Lab, which is the company that certify organization B Corp. So they are basically the auditor of the certification, and we wanted them to come and explain the value of the certification and the processes a bit to break the barrier and hopefully bring people in the audience in that journey that it's hard, but it's not that hard, and it's worth it, like you say.
Absolutely. And how's the presentation going to be laid out? Is it going to be they ask you questions, you guys kind of pick and choose, who's going to answer when, or do you guys kind of have pieces that each of you are going to talk about?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're going to have Max kick it off to just ground everyone into what is this thing about? What does being a B Corp certified means? What are the steps? What is the value? He's bringing some very interesting data related to how consumers view the B logo, how relevant it is with Gen Z. And so just ground us into what B Corp is. And then each presenter is going to bring example of what it means for each one of us to be a purpose-led. So for Lawson, I'm going to talk about our social impact program and dive into each pillar of the program. I know Allagash is going to talk a lot about their sourcing strategy and then their environmental footprint. So we each going to kind of bring it to life with what we focus on from the B Corp standards.
Awesome. Now, if someone's going in there pretty blind, they've heard of B Corp and maybe they're an owner, they're trying to debate what to do, what key points do you want them to kind of gather out of this, after they leave that session at 2:30 on that Thursday?
That B Corp brings a lot of value. Like to be known, you're known to be an amazing craft brewer, but I'm sure a lot of our members at CBC that are attending are also doing a lot of good in their community. And BLARP kind of validates that, and then also put that certificate in front of consumer who recognize B Corp certified company, who recognize Patagonia as a B Corp and other really iconic brands. So one is there's a lot of value, and probably you're already doing the work, a lot of that work. If you are invested in, community building and are donating to nonprofits, you're doing it already. And then two is there is a quick way to get introduced to the assessment. There is a quick pre-assessment tool on B Lab website that you could just go and play. Take the assessment, see how far you are. And my sense is you're going to be closer to reaching the minimum threshold point than you think you are.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to it again. It's the session is called Being the Change You Want to See. It's going to be happening from 1:30 to 2:30 on Thursday, May 1st during CBC. It's at the Level 1 Wabash Ballroom 2, and you'll get to see Adeline talk about this and share with that. What else is going on with Lawson's, though, before I let you go?
Oh my God, thank you. We have a big anniversary this year. It's the 10-year anniversary of Sip of Sunshine. The yellow can, the iconic double IPA that's really put us on the map. And so lots of activation, lots of celebration around our flagship brand. And the celebration is really towards thanking the fans that really made us who we are today with supporting Sip of Sunshine. Also, we are continuing with to further invest in our state expansion. We launched Virginia and North Carolina, so spending more time in there. And then it's also focusing on home base with our tap room in Vermont, and then really developing our hospitality business further. So
Awesome.
good stuff.
Well, I'm looking forward to having some beers with you and enjoying Indianapolis here in just a few days now. By the time this podcast runs, we'll be getting together. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jon, and looking forward to see you and everyone at the conference.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency. And we're joined here on the Brewer Magazine podcast with Wesley Keegan from Tailgate Brewery in Nashville. Wes, how's it going, man?
Man, great. Thank you. Excited to be here, and thanks for including us.
Absolutely. CBC is coming up next week. It's going to be a seminar kicking off Tuesday afternoon, 1:15 to 2:15. It's called Opening New Locations Successfully.
Yep.
Wes, you have a little bit of experience with this recently, so I could see why you want to talk about this, but why did you want to speak about it, especially at CBC?
Having gone to CBC for as long as I have, I've been going since, I want to say 2007 was my first CBC, long time ago. I've always found the seminars, the speaks, the topics, all of those things probably the most beneficial for me as I've grown. And in recent years, as I've gone to these seminars, I've listened and I've thought, man, I've got a lot to give now. And I can talk about our experience, because if somebody's up talking about how to open a tap room and they're opening their second one, no hard feelings, nothing wrong with that. But, we've opened 8 in 10 years. So I think we've got some experience, we've got some proof positive, and just kind of want to share our perspective because it does work. But you got to do things the right way.
Absolutely. And I think it's 6 in the last 2 years. I mean, you guys have been
pretty
busy. And I guess, taking a break from this, but like, maybe you'll talk about this, but like, why now? Why is it so important for you to have that taproom aspect all through the state of Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple of different things, and most things are pretty nuanced, right? And you can get really in the weeds. But the short answer is, we had a pretty good cadence of we wanted to open a tap room every 2 years. I'm the only owner of this company. We have no investors, and so we wanted to have a very comfortable for our operations opportunity to open a tap room, make sure it's operating correctly, make sure the team's in a good place, make sure the funding's in a good place, go open another. COVID obviously kind of affected that timeline for us, and that kind of created this bottleneck that sort of just uncorked. And so, yeah, the last couple of weeks were just kind of like we had this tube of toothpaste and then stomped on it and kind of did, the previous 5 years all in the span of 2. But we also chased a couple of different opportunities that came available as well, where it's like it's hard to say no to those things, because having a tap room is a critical component to running a brewery. And if you don't have a tap room, you are not going to succeed as a brewery. Full stop.
Yeah. Well, how's the presentation laid out? Like, have you done presentations before? Had
Yeah.
Copy, paste, and talk, but be able to add some nuances as you've grown, or how do you approach presenting?
So I've done all kinds of talking. I've done things as simple as, like, early on, I used to volunteer and go speak at the Vanderbilt Business College, in the entrepreneur program and stuff like that. And so, like, public speaking has always been something that I've been very comfortable with. And even with our team, we do a twice a year all team meeting where we sit down, we pull a PowerPoint, and for 1 hour, I just give them the download of who we are, what we've been doing the previous 6 months, what we're doing today, what we're going to be doing. And so we kind of have this pretty good cadence, and I get invited to speak at local organizations and groups, and I'm doing one in May that's a business organization that helps uh, underrepresented groups learn how to step into the professional world. And so, I get these opportunities every so often. So something like this is going to be pretty comfortable for me, I think. I always caveat every conversation with, "Hey, I'm going to talk like an adult, so expect bad words." And that's kind of my one cushion, because if I'm not allowed to use a bad word, I'm going to stutter, and I just need a little bit of grace on that. We're adults. We're going to talk about adult stuff, but the template is not exactly a template. It's more that I know how many slides I can fit in the X amount of time. And I generally try to set the table, give some details, and then give some candor. You know, the number one feedback anybody's given at any conversation I've ever had is like, "Hey, this all sounds really good, but I don't understand it. I really want to see, behind the curtain." So we do. We got to show some things that work. We're going to talk specifically about some things that do work for us, but it's only 1 hour, and this is 10 years of experience, so I'm not gonna be able to cover all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if someone's sitting there, they're showing up and what do you want them to get out of it? And what do you think they'll get out of it? That sometimes can be two different things.
Totally. So I think that the people that should come and the people that should attend are people that are looking to anywhere, like all across the spectrum. You've got a production brewery and you're looking to open a tap room, or you have a tap room that's open a couple hours a week. What do you do next? You're thinking that you've got a successful tap room, you want to open another one, or you have two, and now you think you want to do three and four. We've seen all kinds of examples in the industry of people and businesses that have opened up tap rooms, and then there's always kind of like the keyboard warriors that'll talk about like, well, they grew too fast. And like, maybe, but what they actually did was they grew wrong, right? Like, it's really hard to open a tap room, 10 driving hours away when you're the operator. Like, there's just no way you can do it. So you can be all over the spectrum. You could have multiple locations and you could be struggling with them and trying to figure out where things are going wrong. This is an excellent time to tune up. Our industry is pretty seasonal. So you're going to be busy. If you want to make changes, make them now. You've got another 5, 6 months of great business ahead. So I think that there's a pretty wide spectrum of people that could come. My personal opinion is most breweries do a really bad job at the hospitality side of things, because most of us got into brewing beer because we like brewing beer, right?
Yeah.
And as an experienced craft beer consumer myself, I've been to a brewery more than once. Most of the time when I go out, I feel like people treat me like shit, and like my experience is not good. And we have our misses too at our places as well, but we as an industry need to recognize that it is a critical component of having a brewery, whether we like it or not. You have to be diversified. You can't be a single pigeonholed company anymore like you could be 10 years ago, maybe. But if you're going to be in this business at all, you need to get into business. And so I think that those are the people that should attend it. And what I always tell anybody in any conversation, especially when I'm receiving advice, is like, man, if I get one thing out of 1 hour of your time, it's a success for me. So we're going to cover a whole lot of topics, and I hope that everybody gets at least one good thing and they can go implement it, and we can be a better industry for it.
Absolutely. And it's called Opening New Locations Successfully. It's going to be happening
Yep.
on Tuesday at CBC, April 29th, starting at 1:15 in room 122 on level 1 at the Indiana Convention Center. So, this is running on a Tuesday right before that. So we're a week away right now when
Yes,
this
sir.
is running on. So we'll be ready. And I'm sure a lot of people will be excited to get a chance to hear what you have to say. But wrapping things up, what's new with Tailgate? I mean, 6 more in the next 2 years. Is that the plan?
I don't know about that pace. Our model is we like to buy our locations, so it's a really real estate driven conversation. I've kind of got like my map on the wall of like, we want to be in these places in the state of Tennessee. So if this one pops up before this one, then we're going to go that first direction, right? So the tap room and location rollout is kind of opportunity driven, but we've really, really impressed on our team that we need to invest in what we currently have as well, because expansion is difficult, and you do have growing pains. And if you open up one new location, you're probably going to have an entirely new management team, for example. Now think about doing that with six, right? Like, you've got all kinds of new things. And I think one thing that gets missed is like, if you're opening a new location, it is a new business. And if the life cycle of a new business is most of them fail in the first year, you got a lot of work to do to make sure they don't. and you're really not out of the weeds until you're like 5 years in. So
Yeah.
for us, what's new is we're hunkering down, but we actually recently just doubled our production capacity at our HQ location and brought in a whole lot of new cellar space, which we're really excited about. We're always expanding our brewery, making it a better place to brew, making better quality products. We're putting a whole lot of pasteurized product out, which is a little bit manual for us because we use batch pasteurizers. But we're kind of hitting that threshold capacity where the next step might be a tunnel pasteurizer for us, which I'm looking forward to talking to the equipment suppliers about when I'm at CBC this next week. So, we've got a lot going everywhere, and it's not always just new locations. Sometimes you just kind of have to invest in what you have right now, because that's the only way to make it fresh. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary at HQ, and I was pouring beers at that location, and it was just kind of like, hey, thanks for being here. Immediately, I realized our bar is too small, and so we just installed a brand new bar, like completely remodeled the whole thing. In like the subsequent 4 weeks, it's like we're gonna change absolutely everything in this room because we cannot sustain business the same way that this bar did 6 years ago. So, I mean, constant improvement. And I can tell you 50 examples of what's new and what's cooking for us. But today it's Juice Box Wizard. That's our new quarterly release in our IPA rotating series. That's what's new, and that's what I'll be drinking tonight.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you in Nashville Indianapolis. You're in Nashville
Yeah,
already, but
I'm in
we'll
Nashville.
have fun
Come
at
see me
CBC.
anytime. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
we'll be in Indy.
Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency. And we welcome in Clay Robinson, the co-founder of Sun King Brewery in Indianapolis. Clay, thanks for joining us.
Hey, John, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a few years since I saw you. I think the last time I saw you was, I had to look back. It's been like 7.5 years since we did the cover story with you and Dave. It sounds really hard to say. What's new since then?
Pretty much everything.
Right. But you guys, like, I know Florida kind of is in play now. You guys have done stuff with that. I mean, kind of give us the overview of what Sun King's been up to the last few years.
I mean, I think we all know the past 5 years have been kind of a dumpster fire.
Right.
So, so we pulled all the way back to just Indiana around COVID. So we became a one-state brewery during that period of time. Clearly pivoted to 99% cans and 1% draft. And as we were coming out of that in 2021, we started a conversation about growth and where growth was possible and achievable. And our sales manager, Joe Burns, came from Cigar City. So he lived in the Sarasota, Bradenton area and actually lived there. And we were talking about opportunities, Florida, the marketplace. We'd actually sold a fair amount of beer in Florida prior to, and everyone was always confused that Sun King wasn't a Florida brewery.
Yeah.
So we kind of thought, hey, what if we look for an opportunity, somebody around COVID that maybe fell on hard times and looked for an opportunity. So we found a brewery in Sarasota that had filed for bankruptcy, chased it through bankruptcy court. It wasn't working for a long time until it did. And when it did, we were like, wait, what? Okay, we own a brewery in Florida. Now what do we do? So that's been a big focus for us. They have 20 million visitors a year here in Florida. There's 80 million tourists, which is a significant number more than Indiana. 300 plus days of sunshine, a lot of disposable income, vacationers, day drinking, all of those things. So we kind of doubled down on our Florida strategy. I actually moved down to Sarasota, Florida to oversee our operations and work out in the market and work on growing the brand in the Sunshine State.
Awesome. But you guys are kind of one of the veterans of the Indianapolis beer scene, and CBC is, coming to Indianapolis beginning the end of April. How long have you known, and, did you have anything have to be behind it to try to help get CBC there?
It's actually one of my favorite memories, of my craft beer career. So I was going to CBC 2008, 9, 10, 11. We hosted the Super Bowl in Indianapolis. I think it was 2011.
Sounds about right.
And later that year, the CBC was in San Francisco, and I set up an appointment to meet with Nancy Johnson on the last day of the CBC. And so I had my business partner Dave Colt with me, and I invited the big guns Nick Floyd to the conversation. And so we met with Nancy, and it was funny because it was during my tracksuit era of my life. So I was wearing a tracksuit. Nick was wearing like a track jacket and looking like he's the Serbian mafia behind me. And it'd been a long week anyway. And I'm like, Nancy, we got to have the CBC in Indy. And she's like, I don't know. People really like to go to more exciting destinations. And I was like, damn it, I've been in San Francisco this entire week and I haven't seen anything but the inside of this convention center, my hotel lobby, and wherever a bus takes me. So I was like, Indy's walkable. We just hosted the Super Bowl, for Christ's sake. We host the 500, the world's largest single day sporting event. We've got these things. We're a huge convention city. It's affordable. 40% of the country or 30% of the country can drive within 8 hours, 10 hours. Like, it's really well located. So I actually think it's more accessible because I'm paying $400 a night for a hotel in San Francisco, and blah, 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 and on and on. And so, I joke with her now when I see her. We've talked about it over the years, but it was almost like we were in a sparring match because I'm like talking with my hands and in a tracksuit, and Nick's just kind of like, yeah, we can do it. Like, Indiana, come on. So we had conversations over the years. In 2013, we started the Canvitational at Sun King, which it was kind of a PR campaign for the city of Indianapolis. We got together with Visit Indy. We conceived this canned craft beer event because at the time, beer was like the only thing in a can, and not that many people can beer. So we invited like 40 breweries from around the country to come to Indianapolis, spend a weekend, throw a festival to promote canned craft beer. We put them up in hotels and just made a fun weekend out of it. And every one of the breweries that came from all over the country would leave and be like, oh my God, that was such a great time. I was on the phone with Adam DeBauer from Austin Beer Works earlier today, and he was like, I'm not making it to Indy, and I love Indy. Like, from the first moment I went there for the Canvitational, I fell in love, and it's just such a great town. So all of that kind of culminated in a continued conversation and push over the years. To just be like, hey, come look at us. So they'd come, they'd do site visits with Visit Indy, and we'd walk around the brewery, take a look at the city. And then finally, probably 3 or 4 years ago, there was a women's Final Four was in Indy, and Nancy Johnson was in town, and she was like, we're going to get this done. It's like, yes, finally. So technically it's only like 14 years in the making.
Only. Well, you're getting it. How exciting is it, and how excited is the indie beer scene to be able to kind of be on this stage? Because people might just know some of the really bigger breweries, like, again, Sun King is one of the bigger ones, Metazoa, but there's 40 some breweries in the immediate Indianapolis area. Do you think that this has been going to be a big thing for them?
Yeah, I think it's a huge thing for them. Indy's been a good beer city for a long time. It was flyover country. Nobody really thought much of Indiana. Three Floyds, as many accolades and as much love as they get from people in and out of the industry, they represent, and people always are like, oh, Three Floyds, that's a Chicago brewery. I'm like, no, it's in Indiana. And they're like, no, it's a Chicago brewery. I'm like, oh, seriously, come on now. So, it's important as we've grown in Indy. Sun King was the first production brewery. All we had were brew pubs, so we had a brewery and tap room. And that idea took off. Now we do have upwards of 40 breweries in like the central Indianapolis, like greater Indianapolis area. So there's a lot of breweries, a lot of different models, from brew pubs to nano breweries to some really cool tap room concepts and more sprawling places. And we've got 3 locations in Indianapolis area alone. So there's a lot to do, a lot to see, a lot of great beer. And it's something that I know Indianapolis is excited. The breweries are excited. My partner, Dave Colt's the president of the Brewers of Indiana Guild, and the Guild has been working really hard, also in tandem with Dave and I, to try to get the CBC here. And once it gets here, just to make sure that we make a great impression, and that when people come in, visit Indianapolis, which maybe they haven't thought about as a beer city, and leave, that they leave and they're like, wow, that was a really great time.
Absolutely. For the people that maybe have, like you said, there's a lot of people that probably do think of flyover country and don't think of Indianapolis. what's Indianapolis known for? And, what do you hope that someone that leaves Indianapolis, other than the beer even, will get out of a trip to CBC?
We talk about it a lot, but the Midwest in general and Indiana in particular, we have the thing, it's Midwest nice. Hoosiers, we talk about Hoosier hospitality, but people are friendly, expect people to say hi on the streets, and to be abnormally friendly. A lot of times that takes people off guard. Clearly, we're known for the Indianapolis 500, the world's single largest sporting event. That's a really huge part of our culture, but we're also known for sports in general. We've got the NCAA headquarters here. We clearly have the Colts, we have the Pacers. Downtown overall is a super walkable place. So, if you've been to CBCs in cities, last year was in Vegas and I did not go because me and Vegas, aren't a good match. And there's a lot going on, a lot of chaos, and to get anywhere is a giant pain. People come in Indianapolis, you're going to stay downtown, you're going to be able to walk to the convention center, you're going to be able to walk to bars and restaurants. I made a quick list, but like walkable from the convention center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different brewery / 9 or 10 brewery tap rooms. Sun King is a mile from it. St. Joseph's just up the street. Chili Water in Fountain Square. Center Point is a little bit north and east. Brewlink is just north. Metazoa is walkable. You get down to Fountain Square Brewery. The Upland has a location in a brewery in Fountain Square, and then Taxman and the Tap both have tap rooms in the area. So you got 10 breweries that you don't ever need to get into an Uber or a car. And then if you decide you want to check out some of the other folks, Gugman House is pretty close by, Mashcraft, Garfield Brewery, Cosmetic, like all of those are downtown. And then you jump in an Uber and you can be to any number of breweries in a 15-minute span. If there's something that you look at online or you know somebody at, or you've got friends and you're like, oh man, I really want to go visit these guys. Super easy to get around, super small town Midwest feel. But the one thing that we're not known for, but is a really good insight for CBC goers, is that Indianapolis has no open container law. So you can walk down the street with a can of beer in your hand.
Nice.
So
that is going to be key, I think, for some people, especially
it's
later in the evening.
It's a good one. We oftentimes at the brewery will have events. We'd sponsor some concert series, and like we'll get together, meet at the brewery and have a beer at the brewery, and then everybody will grab a can of beer because the walk is a 15-minute walk. They grab a can of beer, throw it in a koozie, crack it, walk down the street, get to your next destination, and go on down the road. So
that's fantastic.
We do have, you can be marked as publicly intoxicated, and if you're not drinking your alcohol responsibly, but if you're just walking down the street with a beer, no problem at all.
Awesome. What about some hidden gems in the downtown area that you love popping into that maybe even aren't beer related?
Just to get outside, the downtown has the Cultural Trail, which is a series of walking and bike paths that you can cruise around to different areas. It goes from over on the IUPUI campus, down to Fountain Square and up to Mass Ave and around. So it's a great spot to walk on. There's also a Pacers bike share, so you can put your cart in, grab a bike, and bike around. That also makes getting around really easily. When you are downtown, so the west side of downtown is White River State Park, which is like a really big, expansive green space. There's some art and sculptures, and it's right on the White River, but it's a really pretty space. It's just a nice space to get away, take a walk, and kind of look back at the city from a different view. That's where the Indianapolis Zoo is, over in that area, and it's just a really pretty space. But if you kind of wind down and around, we have a lot of monuments, if you're into monuments. So the circle itself has a huge monument, and then going north, there's a bunch of monuments. But you take the Cultural Trail and you wind north to Mass Ave. Mass Ave is kind of more of the independent arts and restaurant district. So there's basically like a mile-long strip that kind of runs at a 45-degree angle, and it's got taco shops and pizza joints and sushi places and English pubs and Irish pubs and, stuff just all up and down that entire block. And that actually leads out to the Bottle Works, which is an old Coca-Cola bottling plant that somebody put $200 million in and turned into a hotel, but it also has a food hall in it. So it's a really cool spot with like 15 different food concepts and a bar, and you can grab a beer and try different foods. And again, if you grab a can of beer, you can drink it on your way there.
Awesome. Well, and it's going to be a busy week, but we still have, that end of that week is always the World Beer Cup, and you guys are going to have an after party, like you said, about a mile away from the convention center. Tell us about that. What's going to be happening there, so people have a place to be able to unwind after all the celebration really begins.
Sure. Well, we do. We've got two kind of public events. We're hosting several private events. So various sponsors have events going on at the brewery at different days. But on Tuesday night, we've got our Collaboration Fest, which we have 12 different collaborations that we've done with the likes of Three Floyds, Lost Abbey, Bierstadt, Sierra Nevada, New Belgium, Rheingeist, Breakside. So we've got a bunch of stuff. We've been working on these beers for a year. So Tuesday night, we're having a band and a party, and we're dropping 12 different beers that we've done with 12 different friends from around the country over the last year, just to have a little fun and a little chill event away from the rest of the CBC madness. And then Thursday night, we're hosting a CBC after party. We actually technically have a screen, and we're going to play the awards. We've got a tent in our south lot that we're using for a number of different events throughout the week. But so we're going to play the World Beer Cup Awards for those people who maybe don't want to go to the awards and sit through it and just want to relax and have a beer. But we've got food trucks, and then we've got a DJ that night that is a great local DJ, Andy D. She's fantastic. So we've got a DJ, so we'll have music, food trucks, and then we've got those collab beers plus some other beers available, and really just kind of trying to create a nice spot that you can just chill, hang out with your friends in the industry, and soak in the last few minutes of the CBC, wrap up the party before everybody heads home Friday or Saturday.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like a fun time, and thanks for being our little tour director for everyone that's going to be coming in.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think, again, I love Indianapolis. I was born and raised there. It's a really great, fun city. I think people are going to have a really good time. It's super accessible and very easy to get around, and it just is going to make for a really nice time. And I know if people are coming that they're going to have a great time.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Clay.
Yeah, thanks, John.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.